Okay, so before this video starts, the mic quality is actually pretty bad. I just noticed that when I was editing the video, so if you want to hear it, just turn on subtitles. So yeah, this is just a little disclaimer before the video starts. Enjoy it. It all started when I was, trying to draw anything. Like, I wanted to do a character, but I didn't know what to do. So I had an idea. What if I made a character based off items I got in an Isaac playthrough? And I made this. And it sucked, so I did another one. This is a Demon Nun character that I decided to make, and I proceeded to do nothing with it. I did put her on fight and somehow show as the most attacked character this year. Thanks for all the fan art, by the way. But yeah, I did not have any good use for this character design, at least for that moment. But then a 12-day vacation happened, against my will, and there I was, bored again. At least I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found this Lazy Madman video where he plays as a character called the Sheriff. I looked at the character and I thought, huh, cool. I want to make one. So I grabbed my sketchbook, took the design I made, and began to brainstorm. I just wanted to make a big video showcasing all my ideas. Also, I'm gonna do a little announcement at the end of the video, so watch it to the end for that. Also, this is the first video I ever did a script for, so if this video ends up being confusing, then that's just me being bad at scripting. So with all that said, let me explain what I came up with Nago, of course. So how Becky works is actually pretty simple. She starts with 1 heart container, 2 black hearts, and she has pretty similar stats to Isaac. She also starts with a homemade Bible, a pocket item that I'll explain in a bit. Here's the stuff that makes her unique. First of all, Devil and Angel deals are swapped, which means Devil deals are free, and Angel deals will need heart containers to get the items. Now of course, Pot of Flesh and Restock work with Angel deals, just like they would normally work with Devils. Also, Sanguine Blood will only be available in Devil deals because I just think that makes more sense. And second, she cannot shoot tears. She's just too happy all the time to do that. Now you're probably wondering, how is she gonna attack enemies? She won't. Instead, a little ghost fella will help her with that. When you have the homemade Bible, a little ghost will appear and help you. How does it work? Well, it's a hold and release attack that if you charge long enough, you throw him all across the room and pierce through all the enemies that come in contact with him. You can slightly control his direction by pressing the arrow keys while in the air, and if it hits a wall, he'll run back so you can use it again. And if you use the homemade Bible by pressing Q, the ghost will home into the closest enemy and will explode in contact. This is how the ghost bombs work. Also, when she gets a birthright, Becky will start shooting tears, but you still have the ghost. Now, this all just sounds like a weaker mom's knife with extra steps, which is true. It even has some custom synergies with it. But also, wouldn't it be really busted to just give Becky just mom's knife at the start of the game? At least I think it would be. And that's how Becky works. But just like every character, she also has a Tainted version, which naturally makes things a lot more complicated than her normal version. Now like I said, this character is a lot more complicated than any vanilla Isaac character, because you technically don't play as one character. Let me explain. When playing as Tainted Becky, you play as a ghost this time. With 3 black hearts, stats similar to Tainted Loss, and the most notable thing, they can only take black hearts. Yes, this is the first character to not be able to grab any soul hearts. Now, to not make this character like impossible and unfair, soul hearts have a 10% chance of turning into black hearts, but they do a lot less damage than they would usually do. However, here's where things start to get interesting. When you play as this character, Becky will also be there. She starts with 2 hearts and 1 bone heart, however, unlike Jacob and Esau, where you control both characters, Becky cannot be controlled. She moves around the room randomly like a scapegoat and cannot take health ups and no enemies chase her. Why? Because she's asleep. However, Becky may be asleep, but she's hungry. If you manage to bring enemies close to Becky, she'll dash at them and eat them alive, aka one-shot them. And after you're done with the boss, Becky will pick out a random item, mostly food or organ related, which even has its own item pool, and depending on how many enemies she eats on the floor, the higher the quality of the item. Here's the table if you're curious. Now, this sounds really busted. However, there are some things to note. First of all, if she eats, for example, 60 enemies in a room, both boss rooms will consider only half of the numbers each, so in that case, you get 2 trinkets. And second of all, she doesn't eat them instantly. She takes about 3 seconds to fully kill an enemy, and if another enemy comes in contact with her, she'll take damage. That's why she has a health bar. However, if Becky dies, it won't win the run. She'll just disappear for the floor and come back in the next floor with one last heart container. Now, if that wasn't complicated enough, she also has a pocket item. Or should I say, pocket items? That's right, she has 2 pocket items, which can be swapped by pressing Ctrl. The first one is coffee beans. Very name, I know. Which when used, Becky will wake up for the room and act like an incubus and shouldn't follow you like one. However, she can still take damage in this state. It's a 12 charge item, so use it carefully. And if you use it in a boss room, Becky will get the berserk effect, and you'll control her for a short time. When it ends, you control the ghost again. Becky can also take damage in this state, so watch out for that. And also, if the item is used in a boss fight, it won't be useful again for the next floor. It will only be useful whenever you go to the floor next to the next floor. Hope that didn't sound confusing at all. The second item is Possession. Yeah, I know. Edgy name. By pressing Q close to an enemy, you'll possess the closest enemy and you will be able to move with them. This is mostly useful to bring enemies close to Becky. But there are some things to note, however. If you press Q while possessing an enemy, you possess the next closest enemy. If there's only one enemy, you just leave the host and come back to Becky's position. If you die as the enemy, you take half a heart of damage and come back to Becky's position. Also, enemies that come in multiple groups like leeches, yellow spiders, and flies, and portals, and enemies that cannot move, they will not be possessed. If you attempt to do it, it won't work. It also has its synergies. If you have only mental, you won't take damage, and if you have spider mod, the enemy's health bar will show up. And you think we're done? Of course not! If you get birthright, possession will be replaced with the alarm clock. And no, those are really stupid items, I know that. I'm not even reading the script, I'm just now realizing. When using the alarm clock, all enemies will start chasing Becky, even enemies that would usually run away. And also, Becky won't take any cooldown when leading enemies, which means she can only take damage by bombs or projectiles. And yeah, that's about it. Now of course, there's some other stuff in my notes that I didn't bring up, but I cannot tell you because the video would be too long. If you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments. And remember when I said I was gonna do a little announcement earlier? Well, we're looking for people now. This is a really complicated character that I really want to turn into a playable character, so we really need to look for people. At the moment, we're looking for coders, preferably experienced ones. Extra artists that can understand how spreadsheets work. I don't know how spreadsheets work, so I need help with that. And maybe someone to give ideas to unlockable items if we do both normal and tainted characters. And also, yes, I am offering actual payment. I don't have a job yet, however, I'm gonna try paying as much as I can. If you're interested, just pause the video and DM this username on Discord to apply. I'll respond whenever I'm not asleep. So yeah, that's it. I don't know how to end this video, so I'll just